So continuing with the concept of effortless speech, let's check in with some specific movements. Now, if you're using a lot of the mouth articulation exercises that I've shown you in the past, I'm going to do what's called over-articulating. And from an effort perspective, can you see that although I sound clear, there's way too much effort? So on our scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling like I'm doing about an 8 or a 9, and this is individual. You might feel a different number. Whatever number you feel is fine. It doesn't matter. But if it's a high number for you, see if you can go down a level or two and get the same quality and sound. So I feel like this is pretty good. If I lose too much control in the mouth, I start to sound sloppy, so I need a little more tension. But I don't want this much tension in my mouth. So maybe this is a good level or good amount. So from here, let's see about using the muscles below your nose. Why? Because Chinese speakers typically don't tap into these muscles. And it's really important that you do, whether you speak Chinese or not actually, because these muscles will allow you to have really long L, which we often call the dark L. So the L after a vowel like pool, as in swimming pool. I like to have people go out when they practice this sound because you can get such a strong L, if it's not a native sound for you, by taking your tongue against the back of your teeth and blocking the air like this. Oh. But you won't be able to do that if you can't move this muscle. So to activate this muscle, if you find it's not moving, you pinch it right underneath your nose. Pinch. Take a mirror if you'd like, or videotape yourself doing it. And then take your fingers on either side of your mouth and pinch. The reason we're doing this is to get a little bit of blood to go to this area so we can try to move our nose. Pretend you want to wiggle your nose like the magic witch, like Tabitha the witch, the good witch. So you want to take your nose and you want to go from side to side. And the goal is not so much how far you can move your nose, but the goal is to get some movement in this muscle and not to move so much in the jaw. So you're trying to isolate the muscle under your nose, and you might try the movement we did earlier with the mouth, like this. And when you go side to side, make sure you're actually making the smooching noise, because that will allow the muscles to fully engage, again with less effort. So as little effort as possible to get that sound. And now move it into just making the nose move a bit. And now make a sound like Nancy, like the name Nancy. And then let's try a word with N and L, like night light. Now this is important for some speakers of Chinese who have difficulty distinguishing the sounds N and O. The N sound is going through the nose. So as you practice, you might close off your nose when you say night light, because when you say light, notice I can close off my nose without damaging the integrity of the sound. So I can say light with my nostrils closed, light. But when I say night, if I close my nostrils, night. Hear how nasalized it sounds. So the N sound goes through the nose, the L sound does not. And that's a good check when you're practicing to see if you're doing it correctly or not. And there are lots of words you can put together. Have fun with this. Take words that start with an N and an L, place them together, and see if you can distinguish with the nose movement. Night, night, light, light. And just see what happens. Now you've got a little movement here. Again, think effortless. So not lots of movement, but just a small amount. And now let's look at movement in the mouth and jaw. And we'll have a video just on the jaw coming up. But for now, think about chewing. So if you were to chew, pretend you're chewing a tough piece of meat. And you talk while you chew, there's really no jaw tension. And there's no jaw tension because when we chew, we don't hold our jaws tight. So start with a little bit of this movement. And then let's just elongate a vowel like ah. Do you see tension when you videotape yourself in your jaw or in your neck or in your head? And by head, it could be in the forehead or it could be on the sides. Where do you notice tension? So there shouldn't be a lot of tension when you elongate a vowel. Ah, but there should be a large opening in the back. Now, when I studied the Lessig method, I learned something very interesting, which is to think of the mouth as a reverse megaphone. That is, the front of the mouth, we are limited of course, because we have a small opening. But the back of the mouth can open quite large. So think of a reverse, again, megaphone, not going this way, but going this way, with the back opening up, and almost like you're yawning into the back, which also comes from the Lessig method, giving credit where credit is due. And yawn with me and make a sound. And I'm reaching way up here so you can see the arms go straight up. If your arms won't go all the way up, you can go here or here, but you really want to open in the chest, opening what we call the heart space. So in other words, your shoulders aren't here, they're here. And surprisingly, this helps the sternum, or maybe perhaps not surprisingly. With the sternum up, there's less effort in speech if you have an open heart space. It also makes you a more friendly, interesting person to talk to. So we're nice and open here, yawning. And remember, we're loose here. Think of not squeezing an orange or a grapefruit under your arms. Pretend you have something there and you don't want to squeeze it tight. It might also be a good time to check in with shoulders. You can pull them way up and then hold them there for a bit and drop them. Then people like to roll their shoulders back. You might do a few of those. You may have done these in exercise classes before. Really feel your upper back as you do this. And now notice, very important for speech, if you can take one forward and one back. One forward, one goes back. Look in the mirror. You shouldn't be torquing your torso like this. You should be staying completely straight if you can. Again, shoulds are difficult things. Don't do anything that hurts you. But think of raising one shoulder and the other independently, because it will help a little bit with that upper spine movement, which we'll see if you watch my jaw movement video. We need to open up that thoracic spine. I also want to show you, in terms of being effortless, that there's a way to open up your sides or obliques for speech. And you can do this with a basic stretchy band. You can get this at a lot of discount stores. They're not expensive. I encourage you to have one. And what you do for speech is you put it behind your back, you lift it, and as you exhale, you make a sound. And you can make any sound you like. Often it's nice to make a sound like S, because when you make an S sound, you use a lot of air. You could also buzz like Z. A couple of things are important here. You want to do 3 good ones. So if you do one where you mess up, so you don't do it the way you'd like, do 3 more. Let's try it again. Inhale before you start. Exhale and make a Z sound. Z. Go as long as you can, exhaling. Get louder as you go, not softer. So you don't want to do this. Z. If you do that, you have to do 3 more, because you have to get louder. Z. Why? Because we want to send a message to our system that we're improving our speech with breath, not decreasing breath. And this is a pattern that will last in your body. So we want to do 2 more. Zzz, zzz. And you can do any sound you like. So I'm going to switch to the other side. Make sure you always do both sides. Make sure you rest your hand on your head in between. My other hand's behind my back. My shoulders are dropped. Check to see if they're even. I didn't do that earlier. Mine probably weren't. Check that your sternum is up. And again, very little effort. Your knees shouldn't be locked, and your feet should be firmly on the floor, nice and completely placed on the floor. So you have a nice, good, balanced posture. Your head should be in a good position, so your neck is in alignment with your back body. Inhaling, exhaling, zzz. And we can change sounds to a V, v, or a zh, getting louder as we go. What this tends to do is open up the rib space. So think of yourself as a big lizard, and you should be able to inhale into your hands at the rib level, big lizard going out, and then you hold that air, not using all of it as you speak. Notice the quality of the speech becomes more fluid and, yes, more effortless. And one last piece for Chinese speakers again, but for anyone working on the R sound, is that while you're doing this yawning and opening, you could make an sound in the back, and you shouldn't hear this sound, or if you hear that quality, it means that sort of crocodile sound, that you don't have enough opening in the back. What you want instead is this sound. clear that is? And now I'll just speak it. Versus And a lot of people who learned British English as children, but who are not speaking British English, however, they learned that English and are now attempting to add a rhotic R. So they're attempting to make an R sound by saying So a word like pour, instead of saying paw, they would say pour. That can come out as paw instead of pour, because you need to open that back space before attempting to move the tongue back into the R position. Think of being effortless. Think of applying what we talked about in terms of spine energy and awareness. So there is some tension in the body in terms of being alert and active, but you're not overusing any muscles, and you're relying on your effort scale of 1 to 10, which each of us as an individual may have a different number for each particular action. However, this effort scale will allow you to gauge how much extra tension you might be using that you might be able to eliminate for more effortless speech.